Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Breaking Barriers Now. Today, I have my amazing, beautiful friend, Brittany Taylor. Brittany and I came into contact a little bit differently than anyone else, I think, in my circle right now. She actually found me on Facebook, and she said she was looking for somebody who could help her be healthier and someone who was also a woman, veteran entrepreneur, health coach, right? I think that's how you said it. And
you were
she
in the
found what'd you find? You found one. You found it all in one person, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So
I was in the
go ahead.
It was the veteran, I think, veteranpreneur group, Facebook group. And then I just went in there and searched, like, I think it was like a list of mentors to choose from. So I clicked on yours, and like, oh, she's in health. You know, she's a woman, she's a vet. Obviously, she's a vet. She's an entrepreneur. It was just like all the checks was, all the boxes were checked. So I reached out.
I love it. And you did. And one of the things I always tell people, I'm like, you never know what you're going to get with me. You just don't. I can't even try to explain to you what you're going to get because everybody needs something different, right? And so I'm just grateful that you took the risk. You didn't know what you were going to get, and you still didn't know what you were going to get, but you said okay, and you signed up, and here we are. And I will tell you, I have watched your journey. I just got chills just thinking about it. Actually, I've watched your journey from the time that the first time I talked to you and we started working together, and then now, right? And people will tell me the same thing. Like, we see things in the background. You don't really know who's watching, right? But I have seen your journey, and I see you, and I'm just grateful that you've allowed me to be part of it. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, of course. This is long overdue, I think. but yeah, so this podcast is, for anybody out there, if you have not tuned in already, this podcast is to really just for all of us to be able to share our stories, and because we all have barriers that we've had to break in life, and our stories actually matter. And it just puts the emphasis on that, because I told Brittany before we started recording, somebody needs to hear her story today. There's a powerful story behind this woman, but when we look at people, we just see what we see. We don't know the story, right? So now you're going to be able to share your story. Real quickly before we get started, I just want to give a shout out to Convene Communities. That's one of our sponsors for the Breaking Barriers Now podcast. Matthew Curran has been an amazing mentor for me. I've been using the platform since 2020 when I came in contact with him, and he's actually one of the people who helped me share my story. So I'm really grateful for that. And then I'm also, one of our sponsors is First Approved Financial, where we're actually helping people not only create generational wealth, but we're actually helping them be more fulfilled and be able to operate in their gifts. And that's near and dear to my heart as well. So I'm grateful for those two sponsors. And, if anybody out there, if you're listening, if you have a company that's aligning with this podcast, please reach out to me, and let's allow you to be one of the sponsors as well. So without further ado, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Brittany, I just want to kind of allow this to be, your stage, and just, anything and everything that you would want to share with other people out there listening. Kind of, and we always joke around about in 45 minutes or less. Tell your entire life story now. But you've had a lot of barriers. You and I have talked a lot. You've had a lot of barriers that you've had to break. So, what's some of the key things that you can remember, from your childhood leading up to kind of where you are now? And let's just kind of go through that journey and just have a conversation.
Okay, so let's see, key moments growing up. So I come from a family of 6. My mom was single mother for most of my life. There was a time period where her and my dad were married, but still kind of like a single mom. And we were super poor. I'm talking about, looking back on it, I can laugh, and me and my siblings make jokes about it. But it was traumatic, like I didn't deal with any, physical abuse or anything like that, but it was just, moving all the time, no stability, lights being off, water being, stuff like that. It wasn't fun at all. And I knew at a young age, I was about 4 years old, and I told my grandmother, I was like, hey, grandma, I don't want to be a I don't want to be a worker bee. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, because the bees, all they do is like go find the pollen and come back, go get the pollen and come back. And, that's their existence until they die. And that's it. They just work.
Ooh.
Because everyone around me, they worked all the time. Everyone worked hard, always working, always working. And some has something to show for it, some didn't. So coming up, all I knew was go get a job. You spend your whole day at work and that's it. So I'm like, nah, that doesn't sit right with me. So I knew back then, I don't mind working, but I didn't want to be stuck in one environment, from sun up to sundown. I didn't know what that would look like, but I just knew what I didn't want to do at a young age. But yeah, so that was that.
And you said you were 4?
I was about 4. I had to be maybe 5, no more than 5.
That's awesome. I mean, just to think like that, like I don't even remember what I was thinking at that age, to be honest, but I know it wasn't that. But just to be able to, and this is why I love with kids, you see them and you like, I'm sure you can feel, right? Because when you've gone through stuff, you become kind of an empath, right?
Yeah.
And you kind of feel when a kid wants to release their greatness, but they just don't know how, right? So I want to acknowledge you. I mean, because at that age, the fact that you already had the idea of, I don't want to be a worker bee, right? So, but of course, society tells us otherwise, right? So what happened with that dream for you?
I mean, I guess society has its norms, and everyone is conditioned to think that we should live a certain lifestyles or a certain way, do certain things, go to certain schools and stuff like that. But honestly, as time went on for me, when I became an adult, I started to question all that. Like, who said I have to just, I can only get a job by going to college? And college is good, but who have to go work 40 plus hours a week just to spend half the time at home, which is half the time is sleeping, and then maybe less than half that is like with my family.
Right.
So go back to see 4 or 5, had the conversation with my grandmother, and then everyone around me was pretty much just like barely making it. And so coming up, I'm thinking that this whole time coming, I'm like, there has to be another way. Like, I don't know what way there is, but there has to be a different way.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll figure it out one of these days. And even as a teenager, like people around me, maybe smoke, did drugs, drank, whatever.
Right.
During high school, I was like, I'm not getting into any of that because I got to get out of here. Like, you won't catch me slipping up. I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
And when I was in I think summer going to the 9th grade, I went to visit my aunt. She's a cardiologist. Went to visit her for the summer, and she had this huge house, a few guest bedrooms. I'm like, man, this is a life. Like, this is nice. I want to have this one day. But I knew to do that, you have to go to school for at least 8 years, at least. So automatically, there was like, no, I'm not trying to be a doctor. I love helping people, but being a doctor is just not it. Like, no, I'm out of that. So, that happened the summer going to I said 6th grade. I'm sorry. It had to be the summer going to like the 9th grade. I had, saw how she was living, and I was like inspired, but I didn't want to do all that schooling. And then, in high school, it was kind of rough for coming up because, coming from a alcoholic home, like my dad, was a drinker, and my mom was trying to like keep it all together. But we're kids, we can see what's going on around us.
Yes, we can.
And so I'm stressed out. I played sports in high school, and it was fun. The only thing I had something to look forward to was like basketball for the most part, and that was fun. But I still was like living in stress and survival, and I did not know it because we'll be in school and they'll be talking about, all right, make your 5-year plan. We got to write down our goals. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, 5-year plan? Like, I don't know.
I don't even know what tomorrow is going to bring, right? Like,
yeah, I don't have a 5-year plan. I don't even care about that. I just, I'm just thinking about today and tomorrow, basically. And that's just how it was. And I think it was like around senior year, I remember like someone, a scout come to look at a few play, And I was telling my brother played ball too. You know, he had the whole city looking at him. And I was telling him, my mom, like, I don't really want to play basketball in college. And I was like, why not? That's a free scholarship. But I was lazy. I'm like, I don't want to get up at 6 in the morning to practice before class. If I do that, if I miss practice and I keep kicked off the team and I lose the scholarship, that doesn't sound like a win to me. So I'd rather just figure it out another kind of way. You know, I was easy. Anything that was hard, I wasn't gonna do it. Anything that was gonna put a lot of effort, take a lot of effort, I didn't want to do it. And that's a skill that people get, but I didn't have that skill. I just thought I was lazy. I didn't have the skill of doing things that's hard no matter what. So that was that. And I just want to take it back to like elementary school about the entrepreneur mindset. Mm-hmm. So I was in elementary school and my grandmother would like, y'all want anything back from the store? Like, I'll go visit her in Mississippi and we'll stop at Walmart. You want anything from the store? And I'll ask for a bag of Hershey Kisses. And she's like, why do you want that? I would take them to school and sell like 10 for $1. Just to get a few bucks. And here's my daughter coming through,
Yeah.
trying to come through the door.
That's all right. She could be on here too.
No, she's not. But anyway, so that was in elementary school. I didn't even know what it was. I would just get a bag, sell 10 for $1 or whatever, get a few bucks. And then after that, in high school, I would babysit for my cousin. And I didn't know this was illegal, but whatever. Well, this is not illegal, but I would babysit. And she'll, want to give me $20. I'm like, no, don't give me $20. Just use your food stamps to buy me, like a box of like the chips, like the variety of chips. 1 second, she's calling my name. I just want to mute it for a second. It's fine.
Yeah, go ahead. Hey, you guys, look, this is what we talk about though. This is real life, real stories. This is, a mom, but she's still doing amazing things. So just keep tuning in because she's just great. And that's why she just took a second to take care of whatever her daughter needed. But that's what we have to do as moms. So it's all good.
Yeah. And this is all unedited. This is raw. I told my daughter.
It's raw. We don't edit none of this.
I told him like, hey, I have a meeting, just give me about an hour. She's like, okay.
That's when they come in though.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you tell them not to.
And it's part of being a mom. And honestly, even about, I didn't learn this until I met Jody, because I would be like so frantic, like, oh my God, my daughter's going to come in the video. She's like, it's your daughter.
So
you're a mom. It's fine.
Well, because I used to be like that. I was like that when I first started using, Zoom and all those. And this was before 2020. I just want to throw that out there for anybody out there listening. I'm grateful that I got my my PhD in Zoom in 2019 and not 2020 like everybody else.
Yeah.
But when I first started, I had a mentor and she was like, make sure everything's quiet and, blah, blah, blah. And I ended up with this dog that had anxiety that would bark at everything. My daughter, it was just us living together at the time. She would come in whenever. And what I started realizing, I was like, you know what? I'm not perfect. And I'm not going to shun my daughter. And if my dog barks because I can't help it if she barks. She's going through some things too. And, and so I had to kind of shift that. And for anybody out there listening, since we're kind of talking about this right now, if you're in that space of thinking that you have to be perfect for everybody, you need to get around a new crowd, because if the people around you are making you feel like that, those probably aren't your people. Mm-hmm. Right? So that's what we talked about when we were working together. Like, just be you. Mm-hmm. That's what people need. They need you. So that's why I don't edit this stuff out, because there's somebody out there that needed to see that. Right?
Yeah, they needed to see me mute and stop the video to tell my daughter to like, give me a few more minutes.
And for anybody that, because I know some people aren't going to be watching this on video. So for anybody that's not on video, she took a moment. She said, can I put myself on mute? Yes, go ahead. Do what you got to do. Right. But that's the thing, this is real life stuff. This is just what we deal with. And we have things around us, but that's what sets people off course to fulfill their dreams. Right. Mm-hmm. Because here we are, unless I've lived this and you've lived this, right? Like, we think everything's got to be perfect. And so we're never actually allowing ourselves to step into our greatness, because everything around us isn't perfect yet. Well, guess what? Mm-hmm. It's never going to get perfect. Yeah. So yeah, so go ahead. All right. So we were talking about you were babysitting.
Oh yeah, so I would
Yeah.
babysit for my
See, I got you,
cousin.
girl. I got you.
And I'm like, okay, so don't give me $20, is just buy me like I think maybe 30 or $40 worth of junk food. So it'd be like a box of chips, Squeeze-Its, Capri Suns, Big Texas, candy bars, like all this junk. And I would put it in my duffel bag and go to school.
Oh
And I would sell
wow.
it.
Yeah.
So I'm making like more than $100 a day from just selling this stuff. So I've always had the mentality of like, how can I turn $1 into $2 or
Yeah.
$1 into $5?
That's
Like
awesome.
always. But
Yeah.
I didn't know why, because no one I mean was really doing that.
Yeah.
So that was in high school. And so yeah, so I go off to college and it's okay, but again, like my family was poor, so I still needed like extra money. And I
Mm,
tried different other entrepreneurial type things in college, but I was like, nah, too risky. I wanna make it somewhere in life.
right.
And I went to Tennessee State University, HBCU. I didn't graduate, but I went there in Nashville, Tennessee. So I was born and raised in Memphis. I went
Mm,
3 hours away to Nashville when I was 18. And that was a game changer because
mm,
in Memphis, all I was surrounded by was like poverty,
yeah.
poverty mindset, drugs, addiction, alcoholism, like anything you name it, that's what I was surrounded by.
Right.
And my mom kept us safe, but when I go out, go out the house or even in the house, depending on who's there, like my dad or uncle, that's what I saw.
Right.
And I would watch so much TV, not understanding then, but I understand now, watching a lot of TV to get out of like my reality,
Right.
watching different shows, like, oh man, that's a nice life. I wish I was in California, like I'm gonna get to
Right.
California one day, just
Yeah.
all this hoping and wishing and but not knowing how to do it.
Right.
Um, so I go to Tennessee State in Nashville and I get there and it's a game changer. I'm around like all these educated people, they're doing well in life and they look like me. And it's not just what people look like on TV. I'm
Right.
at this college and they're talking about being educated, breaking barriers, regardless what they came from, like this is them now. And I'm inspired. I'm like, okay, I'm glad I came here because for a minute I was like kind of second guessing and I was going to just go to Memphis, University of Memphis with
Mm,
my best friend. And then
mhm.
like the very last minute, I went to Tennessee State and my dad went there, my grandmother went there, my aunt went there. So like my family went to Tennessee State.
Okay.
And I'm like, I don't want to go there. And one of my friends was like, just check it out. So luckily, I'm glad I went there. I
Mhm.
got away from the environment. I got away from like
Right.
family. It was nothing wrong with my family, but sometimes you need to get away so you can
Yeah.
like think for yourself, see things differently,
Yeah.
question things. So I went to Tennessee State. I'm going to class, but even then, I'm just like, I'm not inspired. I didn't know that's what it was. I'm just like, yeah, this ain't it. I'm just there now. Just so I won't have to go back home.
Right.
I'm in school. I'm getting student loans. I'm doing financial aid, but I'm not really going to classes. If I
Mm.
can't wake, if I didn't want to go to a 6 a.m. gym practice session, why would I pick a 8 a.m. class? And now it's no one telling me, hey, wake up, go to class.
Yeah.
So slowly, not really going to class. I'm not doing the homework because no one is over my back telling me what to do.
Right.
So like the first a semester or two, it was okay, average. Even though like as a younger kid, I was A student, B student.
Mhm.
And then as time went on, stresses in life as a kid or as a teenager, your grades not important. You just like whatever. It
Yeah.
is what it is. So in college, again, I think I'm lazy, but I'm just not inspired.
Right.
Not really going to class. And one summer, I went home. I think it was the summer going to my sophomore year. I got my first job. It was at Popeye's Chicken in Memphis, right? And I'm like super excited. I'm working hard every day, spending hours working, going home, like spilling like chicken grease. The bottom of my pants are wet from like cleaning the floor. It's the floors at
Yep.
night. And I
Yep.
get my first check. I'm like, what is this? Who, who is Fika? Like, why
Oh my God. She's so
why are they taking my money?
because they don't teach us about taxes in school either.
I didn't know anything. So I'm working that summer and I think I quit that job maybe 3 weeks before classes started, because I was just like over it. I'm tired of doing this for
Went
like
back to selling my candy bars.
something. But what's the trade-off? So I go back to college the next semester in the fall, and there's a Popeyes down the street. I don't know about now, but at the time. So I
Right.
started working there, and I'm just like, for one, I don't even have a ride. Like the bus,
Yeah.
it's too sketchy. So I'm like bumming. I'm getting rides from friends and stuff. But even that, it gets exhausting.
Right.
Um, and I quit that job. I'm like, I'm done. I'm tired of doing this. Like it got to be a different way. So I started another entrepreneurial journey. I won't get into all that. But that wasn't worth the risk. It wasn't worth the risk. I'm like, no, none of it. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
And then I end up the next semester, me and a few of my friends, we got an apartment off campus. It was downhill from there. It was good for me, but as far as college goes, like I got the apartment, and you know how like, if you have a Tuesday, Thursday class, if you don't go Tuesday, you're just like, oh, I go Thursday. Thursday roll around,
They
I'm
usually
nowhere to
go
be found,
Thursday.
And I end up getting a job across the street from the apartments just to help offset some of the bills. I
Right.
get refund check, but I'm gonna need more money. So I working in Burger King, right? First it was gonna be FedEx, but it was like a little further out.
Mm.
And it was like the 4 a.m. shift. And I'm like, no, it's not for me. So my roommate went to Burger King across the street. I'm like, oh, I work there too. So we're working there. And there was this place next door. It's like a loan company right next door.
Mm.
They come over there, get lunch all the time, collared shirts and looking clean. They
Right.
don't have like burger grease or fry grease all over
Right.
their clothes. I'm like, and some of them look like me. I'm like, what do y'all do over there? They're like, oh, it's a loan company. They're currently hiring. You should apply. So I applied, got the job. So my pay instantly doubled. So I'm making like good money, and now it's like go to class or go to work.
Or go to work.
So at that around the time, I end up dropping out of college, right?
Okay.
Because I'm going to work, because I'm
Yeah.
like, I go to class next Tuesday, and then boom, 1 month later, I haven't been there at all, so I'm flunking out of class.
That's what I
But
tell people
hey,
about going to the gym, right? If you don't have that consistency yet, it's like, oh, I'm gonna go tomorrow, and then I'm gonna go the next day, and I would go, and then people would never end up going, right? It's the same thing.
yeah, it's the same thing. But again, I had no idea about being consistent,
Right.
showing up for me, showing up for the people around me. I had no
Right.
idea. I'm winging it. I'm winging
Right.
life like many of us have before, just winging it.
Definitely.
So I'm working this job, and it's nice for a while. For like I'm there for maybe, let's see, I think after the first year or so, I'm like, you know what? I need something different in my life. I need to do something more. Like, why do I feel so empty? Like I feel
Mm.
like this hole, just getting bigger, like a
Yeah.
void.
Mm.
And I'm like, maybe I need a new car. So
Oh, we gotta do a whole podcast on this. Trying to fill the
yeah.
voids with the flashy things, right? Yeah.
So
The
before
material
that, I
things.
end up. You said what?
I said it's like, and I've been there too, where it's like, because you don't know what you don't know, right? So you're trying to
I don't
fill
know.
those voids with material things when in all
Hmm.
reality, it has to come from within, but we don't know that yet, right? We got to go
Yeah,
through the journey.
even as a kid, I had that same like that feeling. I didn't
Mhm.
looking back, I had, you don't know what you don't know. But when I reflect on my life, even as a kid, just having that void of like, man, I want to go somewhere else. Like
Right.
somewhere else. I need to do something else, but not knowing. But I've just, just felt out of place, uncomfortable, and just apart from. I felt like I didn't relate with anyone.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, so the first car I got was this little red Mustang, and I bought it off Craigslist. And whenever it was hot outside, it would cut off. So I would be driving, in the middle of the
I definitely
day.
had a couple cars like that. You become a
What
car
is-
mechanic without even knowing you're gonna become a
Yeah,
car
exactly.
mechanic.
I was telling my wife a few weeks ago like how far I came because that car had put me through. I learned how to change an alternator. I did a tune up. I'm talking
Yep.
about I did all that. YouTube, now
That's
go get the stuff, now fix it myself because who got the money
yeah.
to pay
Well, see, I
somebody,
didn't have YouTube in my day because I'm light years ahead of you. But I tell people, and it's funny because I've done nutrition workshops where I'll be like, I was like, has anybody else ever had a car that didn't have a gas gauge that worked? Am I the only one? Like, because I broke down before with that gas gauge. So that's I try to relate like fueling your body with fueling your car. But it's so funny because I'll be telling that story and I'm looking around the room and I'm like, does no one else know what I'm talking about here? Like,
That's
am I the
funny.
only person?
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, no.
All right, so you get this material object that you think is going to fulfill this void, and in all
Yes.
reality, it makes you an amazing mechanic because you have to.
No. So
No, she said no,
no,
no.
before that one, this car was okay, but before I bought the material filling
Okay,
void vehicle, I
okay,
had this other little red Mustang. I always break down, and I just I learned what to do because
yeah,
if I don't do, who is gonna do it?
right,
Me. I'm the only one
exactly,
in Nashville. My family's in
exactly,
Memphis, so
yeah,
who's gonna do it?
yeah.
Um,
It's
so
funny. I had a
finally,
Mustang too, and it's funny because people are like fix or repair daily, right? That's Ford, fix or repair daily.
oh,
Hey,
that's
that
funny.
that was my second car too. I had a little Toyota before that, and then I had a little Mustang. It was like one of the little 5.0 Mustangs, like a 80 something, 6 or something, real old. But yeah, I know all about
I
it.
think I think it was
I
like
can relate.
I think a 97 or 98 Mustang,
Yeah.
a little red one. But anyway, it finally gave out, but I got it fixed. It was so simple, but it was just it was out of my scope of
Right.
knowledge, you know. So the
Yeah.
mechanic fixed it for me for little or nothing. Found a mechanic on Craigslist. Like even as a kid, well, not a kid, it's younger in general.
Right.
Figure it out, find a way, make it
Yeah.
happen. Found a mechanic, didn't know him from Adam. Called him, hey, this was going on. He came look at the car, fixed it real quick, simple fix, but
Yeah.
out of my scope of knowledge.
Yeah.
So the car's working now. But I'm working all the time. You know, my family's in Memphis. It's just me in Nashville. My roommates kind of like rotating out, you know, because the apartment was in my name. My mom's co-signing for me. So
Okay.
I'm still there. And I just feel like, you know, this void, you know, just empty. And I started to like drink whatever here and there or whatever. And I'm like, you know what? A car. I'm gonna get this new car that I saw, you know, going to work. So I go to the car dealership and I have the money. And he's like, oh, your credit, you don't approve for this car because your credit. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean my credit? So when I was working, maybe a year prior to that, I got my first credit card as a freshman, and no one taught me about. And
Oh, I
I
learned
can't
that
blame
way too.
nobody.
Don't worry.
I can't blame nobody but myself because
Right.
no 18-year-old for the most part is gonna like do the research on it. Some of them do, but I didn't.
Right.
So when I started working, the balance needed to be paid, but I didn't pay it because I don't
You
have
weren't
any
paying
money.
it. Yeah.
Where I'm gonna get the
Yeah.
money from? So oh
Yep.
well, it is
Yep.
what it is. So fast forward, trying to get this car, and they're like, "Oh, your credit." I'm like, "Oh, but a bit my credit, you know." So I'm trying to now. I feel shameful because
Yeah.
I'm at the dealership. And they telling me, "Oh, your credit's messed up," and I'm only what 20, maybe 21. I'm 20 at the
Right.
time. I'm like, I'm feeling shameful. Like, oh, my credit messed up. I can't get a car, but I got the money, but whatever. So I
Yeah.
go down the street to this little shady car lot. Looks like
Shiesty.
the
I was about
outside
to
of
say
it
she
looks
went
like
to a shiesty car lot after that.
looks like Sanford and Son on the outside. You know, it's all types of stuff. But he got like a row of Mustangs, like the 2006, 2007 Mustangs out there. So I
Oh,
walk in between the cars, dogs barking. I'm like, oh, I want that car. You know, I want one of
oh,
these cars. It's shady. He's like, all right, give me 1,800 down, and you can pay I think 200 every 2 weeks, and it's yours. All I need is your ID. He didn't even ask for my license. I just need your ID. So he got the ID, check stub, made a copy, boom, the car is mine. So I'm happy now, I think. So got the car, riding around or whatever, and maybe a few months later, again, the hole is getting bigger. I'm just like,
yeah.
I feel so, I don't know, I feel weird. I need to do something else. I need to do something bigger than myself.
Right.
And I don't know what, I think one of my friends was talking about joining the Navy at one time. And I was like, are you crazy? Like, why would you do that? But here goes
Why
my
would you
burn
do it?
idea.
Yeah.
Maybe I should join the military because I had never thought about the military before. So I'm like, why
Right.
would I do that? Like, why, you know? So, and now at this time I'm like 21.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm about 21. And now I can buy alcohol legally.
Yeah.
So I'm drinking a lot, you know. I just feel the void is getting bigger and bigger as they go on. And I'm working overtime, I'm making all this money. I'm buying things for my siblings, like, but I am not
You're
satisfied.
not fulfilled. Yeah.
I'm not fulfilled. And I end up going to the recruiter's office, signing up for the Navy, and trying to think what happened. Yeah, so I signed up for the Navy, and I went to boot camp the following year, like a few months later. And boot camp was easy. I think I saw one of your show. I think you were on someone's show a few days ago, and you said you went to boot camp at 22.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I come and I'm like, yeah, at boot camp at 22 is like a summer camp, a paid summer camp, because it was easy.
That was you. Oh, okay. I was wondering who said that. Because
it was so easy. I'm just like,
I think I said something like, I wonder if they were Air Force. But now we know the Navy was easy too. All right, people.
It was easy. I'm like, I'm getting paid to just wake up on time, and y'all waking me up, fold my clothes. Y'all taking me where I gotta be. Like, I'm not gonna be late because y'all taking me.
Exactly.
Easy. Cake.
It's like, and that's, I think I said that, I was like, you just play the game, right? Like it's just a game. It's a mind game. And the problem is you got these, young kids coming straight out of high school. They haven't really lived any life yet. And so for them, it's like detrimental, like, oh my God, this is so hard, right? But when you've already struggled and you're already in your 20s and you've already gone to school and had the cars that broke down and the unfulfillment and all the doors that shut, right? When you have all that and then you go and then you learn credit cards the wrong way, which I did too. It's just funny because you and I didn't even know that we had so much in common until we started talking, right? I was just about 20 years ahead of you, or maybe 10, but anyway, because we didn't have Craigslist. But anyway, yeah, so it's just funny because, I look at the generations now, right? And like you got kids too now that you're taking care of, and you look at the generation, it's like, man, like this is what we wanted for y'all. Like I didn't want my daughter to struggle, but you have people that come in the military now, like even when I was getting out, we had this, and you too, right? You see it and it's like, y'all haven't even lived life yet. What are you complaining for?
What are you complaining
beautiful.
for? Yes.
This is beautiful. So yeah.
I feel like the people who complain about it, they didn't really have it bad coming up.
Right.
Because the people who had it bad, like one of my friends, she was like, just about homeless before she joined the Navy. And she's grateful because it's like, oh, the Navy is my Lord and Savior, because now I have, I have stability, I have a paycheck, I have a roof over my head, all that.
Yeah, that's how I felt. Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, I'm getting paid on the 1st and the 15th of every month.
Always a roof over your head, no matter what. So,
yeah. So you ended up in the Navy. So when did you join the Navy?
2015.
Okay.
Yeah. So I joined the Navy. And boot camp was cake. I'm talking about easy. It's like whatever. And I get to my first duty station, and I joined under they call it an undesignated seaman, or a pack seaman, meaning I didn't have a rate, I didn't have a job.
Gotcha.
So I was just like that free body to do whatever else until I think it took maybe, now it's 2 years, but for the first year you don't have a job, so you're just extra body. And then after that, you can like choose what job you want,
Oh, wow. Okay.
It can be good or bad. It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
So I get to my first command and I'm miserable. I'm just like, what the hell is this? I could have stayed where I was at, making more money, because so a lot of people do this. So I got married after boot camp, before I got to my first duty station. So I got married to this girl I was like seeing on and off for a few years. And I didn't see that the BAH, like the money for housing, I didn't see that in my check yet. So my check is little because, honestly, right. E1, 2, E3, you don't get paid
making
nothing.
A lot. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm disappointed. I'm like, I'm like we dragging chains across the flight deck.
Yeah.
I'm like, but when the day's over, I'm covered in oil and rust.
I work the flight line. I know how that is.
I'm tired. I'm dragging. Like they'll be like, all right, go empty this Connex box on the port side and take it to the starboard side and put it downstairs. I mean, down the stairwell in this closet.
Right.
So we doing this in the heat from sun up to sundown. And then the next day, like, oh, never mind, it's the wrong box. We need those chains to go back in the box. And I'm just like, what the hell? What did I sign up for?
Yeah.
I need to go home. I'm so pissed off, and I finally started seeing the income from, from my dependent at the time.
Okay.
So we get an apartment, but I'm depressed. I'm just like, sad, but I'm in San Diego. Think about it. When I was a kid, I said, oh, I can't wait to go to California. I got to get there. I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Even in college, my freshman year, my roommate, I'm sorry, not my roommate, the girl next door to me, was from San Diego. And so from I met her up until I left, I kept saying, man, I got to get to San Diego. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I'm going to do it. I just kept talking about it. Had no idea that it was going to actually happen. So I'm in San Diego, but I'm miserable. I'm not excited. My wife at the time, she's just like, oh, let's go sightsee. I'm getting home. It's like 6:00. Where am I sightsee at? I got to get up in a few hours to come and do the same thing I just did. So I'm just like, I'm over it, I started drinking more. Well, not even as much. I didn't drink as much at the time, but I'm over it. And then it was this book I had in my bag. Now, you know how you sometimes, I don't know about you, but when I was younger, I would have something in my backpack and just carry it around forever and never like look at it.
Yep.
Freshman year of college, I got this book from a friend. It was called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And I tried to read a few pages. I'm only 18 though. Read a few pages, close back up.
You're not ready.
Sit on the bookshelf.
Yeah,
sit on the bookshelf for a long time. Wasn't ready.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, again, this is like maybe September of 2015. I'm miserable. Or August. I'm super miserable, but I'm just like, something gotta give. Like, I need to do something because again, this void is so big now, and I can't run away from it. I can go buy something, but I barely get the money for it because it's expensive to live in San Diego. My paycheck is barely anything, but now I got rent to pay.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what can I do? I can't leave.
Right.
So I ended up like, I was cleaning up and I found the book. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna read this book. This book is gold. If I read some books, it'll change my life. I guess I'm hoping, I'm praying that this was gonna happen.
Yeah.
I get the book. I read a few pages, but I didn't put it away though. I close it up. I go to work. I got the book with me. The book is in my back pocket, like how the notebooks you have, the little notebooks in your back pocket. So I'm carrying this book everywhere I go, but I'm only reading like maybe a few pages at a time. Then I got to reread those pages because I can't really remember what I just read because I'm not paying attention. And one of my buddies, he was like, "Oh, that's a good book. My dad is an entrepreneur, an investor, and he gave me this book when I was younger. It's good. You should check out this guy named Jim Rohn. I'm gonna send you the link."
Nice.
So he sends me the link, and the next day, did you watch it? I'm like, I ain't gonna lie, I didn't watch it. Next week, same thing. So finally, I would never forget, it was September 2015. I watched the video. It was like a 2 hours and maybe 15 minutes. Watch the video. I have pages of notes. And I'm just like, what the hell? Why? No one told me that there's like directions on living life. No one told me that there's like a blueprint on how to do things. And I'm gonna take it back just for a second. When I was in Nashville has grown since I moved away. When I was living there, I would be driving around these neighborhoods like Bellmead, Bellevue, Franklin, Tennessee, like mansions, huge houses, driving around like, man, these are nice houses. Like, what are they doing? Because they're doing something that I don't know about because I got a job. I work hard. Why can't I get what they have? There's a disconnect. And I'm like, I got to figure it out. I didn't know when or how, but I'm like, I'm gonna figure it out. And I'll be riding through those neighborhoods with my car cut off. But anyway, so yeah. So
that doesn't look conspicuous at all.
So fast forward back to 2015. I get to San Diego when we finally start to like sightsee, or not sightsee, but just get out and drive around. And we went to La Jolla, California, which is like a beach in San Diego. Nice. The houses are like, I'm talking about breathtaking houses right on the beach, but near the cliffs. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what are they doing?
Right.
I'm in the Navy now. I work hard. Why I can't afford this house? Like it has to be a disconnect.
Yeah.
So September 2015, watched Jim Rohn's video and I was mind blown.
Yeah.
So I'm telling everybody, I'm like, did you know? Because you
want to share it at that point, right? Like you learn this information. That's how I am too. And you're very fortunate that you got into that way earlier in life, because honestly, like I never even came in contact with Jim Rohn until I was in my 40s. So you're
Mm,
you're light years ahead of everybody when you listen to something like that, because like you said, there is a blueprint, and you have to, it's just like I tell people with the health stuff, I give you the tools and you got to figure out how to, put it in your own life. Well, it's the
mhm,
same thing, like nobody lives the same life that Jim Rohn lives, but he has the experience, right?
mhm,
So he gives the experiences, and then you can, like you did, you take notes, and then you kind of have to figure out how to kind of put that into your own life, right?
mhm.
But nobody, because like you said, and I've been to San Diego a couple of times, and I have family out there, and I remember my uncle, I was 16 when I went one time, and I had an uncle that was an artist, and I remember he was painting for like just yeah, these people had buku money, obviously, because they had that private beaches, right? Like you were
Yeah.
talking about on the cliffs. And I remember that where I was in someone's house, and it was a famous singer, and I remember we were in his house, and I was just like, how? Like how do you get here? And that's the thing, like no, not too many people tell you the how, right? You
Mhm,
just see what you see. And so you want to get there, but how do I get there?
mhm.
Right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, but that is good on you, even though you had that person, you had the nudge, you kept having that
Mhm,
nudge, right? But that's good people in your life, and that's what we all need too. But it takes you finally getting to the point where where you're like, okay, I want to learn this.
mhm.
So, acknowledge yourself for that, because that in itself is a huge step. I always tell them, I'm
Mhm,
like, if people really wanted to learn, I wouldn't have any problems getting clients. Right? Like, but
mhm.
that's the problem. A lot of people don't want to learn. They just want the magic pill. But unfortunately,
Yeah.
there's no magic pill. You really have to put in the effort,
There is
right?
there's something you'll take this quote unquote magic pill, but then now there's something else wrong.
Yeah.
It's like
And it
everything
leads,
turns
I mean,
over.
honestly, like from personal experience, it leads to depression.
Mhm.
Because you're trying all these magic pills, and what are you doing? You're wasting money, you're getting further in debt, nothing's ever working out,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you haven't built the foundation,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because I mean, I know we could probably be on here for about 4 hours, but like, so okay, and watching that video, do you feel like it started building a new foundation in you?
Definitely, it built a new
Okay.
foundation. Because again, remember I said I wasn't thrilled with my job,
Right.
and he talked about you once you work hard on yourself and you do your job, then your life will change.
That's it. Yep.
So I think quarters was at 7 a.m. So I would get to work. I would be in the space where we have quarters like 6:45. My boots are shined. On my uniform look good. Even though we had dirty work yesterday, I'm not gonna put the same one on.
Right.
Even most people put the same coveralls on. Like, no, I'm gonna get a better looking pair. Even though yesterday my boots had rust and oil all on it, I'm gonna buff them out.
Mm.
My boots gonna be shiny. So I started showing up earlier, looking, looking like I didn't work yesterday. Because just because you did work yesterday, you shouldn't carry it over to today.
Yeah.
So I get there early, start working harder on myself, not for recognition, just to be better.
Right.
And showing initiative, like if there was a project that needs to be done, like I can get it done, just showing up for me, not to get
Right.
acknowledged. Um, but we talked about that in like skills, like you get paid back like based off your skills to the marketplace.
Mhm.
So most people get upset like, oh, they don't pay enough to stay in the third. But I'm like, I get some jobs don't pay enough, but they're paying based off the skill that you're giving them. And if they can
Right.
go find somebody else to do the same thing today or tomorrow, then it's not that much value. So like,
Right.
how do you provide some kind of skill? So I started like, learning new skills at work. So I
Yeah.
could be like that go-to person because, Taylor know how to do that, or Taylor know the information to this. So I started to do that. And my life in the Navy like changed because I went from like, just, blending in with all the other little deck seamen
Right.
who's disgruntled to like standing out and winning these accolades because now I'm working on myself to be a better individual, a better person, and it reflects in my job, in my work.
Yeah.
And one thing I want to say is that I remember now when I was really disgruntled in August of 2015, I was going to head to work one day and I got an energy drink and $10 of gas. I didn't have enough in my account to get an energy drink, which at the time was like $1.50 and $10 in gas. So I didn't have $11.50 in my account. And I'm in the Navy.
Right.
You know, I have a career or whatever. I'm living in San Diego and I don't have $11. Like, what? I was so pissed off. I go to the car. I'm annoyed. She's like, what's wrong? I'm like, I can't live like this. Like, I don't have $11 in my account. What kind of shit is this? Like, no, I can't do it. And that's when I picked up the book. And that's when I was introduced to Jim Rohn the next month.
Right.
Because of that disgust.
Nice.
And when I watched the video of Jim Rohn, I'm like, I think he said the two emotions, disgust or desperation. I was disgusted. I was like, ain't no way, I can't live like this. And then, you know, desperate. Like, how can I figure it out?
Yeah.
So boom, introduced to Jim Rohn, started working hard on myself, and also still having that void, you know, in my chest, in my heart, because I'm working hard, I'm getting these accolades, but I'm not satisfied. And I started to drink a lot because, you know, people what do they do? What do they do? They drink.
Oh, I know.
Go to work.
That was me
go
too.
Home, you drink. So
Yeah.
Started to drink a lot, and it like slowly started to get out of hand, but I didn't really see that.
Right.
Because I'm like, well, I have a job, I have a house, I have a car. Like, why y'all complaining? I'm not an alcoholic. Alcoholics live under a bridge with a bag, you know, a can inside of a bag. I'm not those things. And my how can I put this? So we start to go on the way and go on deployments and stuff. So, you know, when I'm on water away from home, so there's gaps. Like, I'm not drinking because I'm on I'm on water or on a boat for like a month at a time.
Right.
And I don't have access to YouTube. So I'm just like falling in. And after a few months on deployment, it's like, man, I feel freaking miserable. So I go on Amazon, and when I was talking to one of the guys at work about Jim Rohn, he was like, oh, you should check out this book, Richest Man in Babylon. You should check out Think and Grow Rich and all this. So I'm on Amazon. I'm on
some good people around you.
It's a lot of, you know, the reason
every now and then,
what I like about the Navy is that it brings all people from all different walks of life together. And one thing I learned is that if there's something in your mind or something you want, you talk about it, because you never know whose ears it's falling on. You never know what information you can get back.
True. Yep.
So I'm talking about, you know, this video Jim Rohn that I, you know, in this book by Dale Carnegie. And he's talking about, oh, check out Rich Dad Poor Dad and Think and Grow Rich.
Yep.
So, you know, you go on Amazon and you type in a book and it brings up like different other books in the same category.
Yep.
Those like, then Rich Dad Poor Dad shows up, and The Alchemist, like all these books are showing up. So I just order all of them.
Yep.
I order all of them.
There you go.
Yeah. And I'm on deployment, luckily, because there's no TV, there's nothing. You just, it's broken internet. So I spend my time reading these books, but I still feel this void though. It ain't going nowhere, but now I'm just learning information. And I get back to San Diego from deployment, and I'm like, I'm ready to hit the ground running because I got all this information. I got money in the bank.
Now it's time to apply it, right?
I got all this money in the bank. You know, I'm ready to roll. Credit's still jacked up. It's just like, I don't know what's going on. My Zoom or somebody's calling or whatever. Yeah, my credit's jacked.
Everything's fine on this end.
Okay. Yeah, so my credit is still, you know, for the most part, jacked up. And I'm still drinking a lot. Yeah. So any progress that I'm making is really not progress, because I spend most of my time, if I'm at work, I'm drinking. And it wasn't a pretty sight. You know, I take one, and then next thing you know, I'm taking 10 or 20, or matter of fact, the bottle takes me, because I'm non-existent at this point. Wow. So now I'm battling other things that I never thought I would deal with, because again, if you look back, what I was raised around, I was raised in an alcoholic home around alcoholism, but I didn't know what it looked like. To me, it looked like that, which I wasn't. So that's something I started to battle. Yeah. And luckily I got a grip on it, you know, by the grace of God, I got a grip on that. And once I got sober, like fully sober in 2019, I was able to apply all the information that I learned from Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, the information from Rich Dad Poor Dad, like all this information, I started applying it. And I got to Syracuse, New York, and I'm just instantly signed up for this real estate investors group. So I go to the first meeting, like that first week I'm here, I go to the meeting, and I start telling everybody, hey, I'm looking for a multi-family so I can live in one and house hack. Tell everybody that. And I end up meeting someone who was currently about to sell one that she was managing. It didn't even go on the market yet. It was like an off-market deal, that was in 2019, perfect. But if I would have went into the situation all afraid, what if what if they think this of me, or what if no one likes me, or just negative thoughts, whatever. I wouldn't have came across that deal. And it's one thing to read information, it's a whole other thing to apply it.
Yes.
Like a lot of times people, will like take all this information, read all these books or half read them, watch the videos, and then sit and do nothing.
Yeah.
Like what changed my life is like applying it. Yeah. So like, I got sober after, and it's weird because I'm like, I'm the good child. I'm the good one in my family. I got it together, and then boom, that happened.
Yeah.
But got sober, and I had space, I had room to apply the things I was learning. Yeah. And it, through my network, my 12-step program, whatever, it helped me to like reconnect with my creator. Because I was raised in one of the Christian faith religions, but because of my lifestyle, I was like, oh, there's shame there because of your lifestyle. And I started to think, I think maybe in sometime in not teenage years, but early adult, why should I pray if it's falling on deaf ears anyway? Because I'm shameful because my lifestyle, So I started to like, move away from any kind of faith. It was still there a little bit, but it wasn't really there, fully. But when I got sober and I learned to have a creator of my own understanding, a God of my own understanding, and I started back to pray and have some kind of faith, and that God-sized hole, that void that was like, they started to grow bigger and bigger. It was full. And it wasn't as huge as it was before, because I ended up, I got my faith back and not learn how to pray, but started back praying and relying on a power greater than myself. Instead of me carrying around, baggage of my past and baggage of the world on my shoulders. Like, that's not my problem to deal with. It's not my issue. And even then, so got sober, made room to be better, but it's still crap, from my childhood, from my past that I never dealt with, because I just compartmentalize it all. Yep. So now I'm not drinking, I'm sober as can be, but I'm agitated, I'm irritated, I'm just the fire of doing starts to wear off, because you can do or let's do.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I know.
You can do things,
say stuff like that.
You can do all these things, but if I don't work on the root problem, then it's gonna pop up in other ways. Yeah. So when I'm just walking around, I'm just tense. I don't know what's going on. I'm just angry. I'm triggered about whatever it comes up. And I had to once I started going to therapy, and I met a different workstation. And honestly, I didn't really think about getting out of the Navy. I just knew I didn't want to do big chunks of reenlistments. So I did like 3 or 4 at a time. So I'm at this new command, I'm sober, I'm trying to live this new way of living, but I'm not really satisfied with where I am. And I'm applying all these things that I'm learning, that I learned from Jim Rohn and from Zig Ziglar, but it's it wears off quick. I'm just it only worked for a month, and now I'm back irritated. So I'm started thinking maybe I should get out of the Navy. I'm not sure what I want to do though. And I ended up, seeking out therapy. But for a while, I wasn't thinking about therapy. My current wife, Stephanie, me and her been together for about 4 years now. Because the other marriage, I didn't talk about the ending of it, but it ended. As soon as it started, it was over.
Yeah.
So I meet Stephanie, and we're together. We're an item, and she talks about therapy all the time because she had been in therapy. I'm just I understand what you're saying. I get it, but I'm good. I'm that's your thing. You're my people, my upbringing, we don't go to therapy.
We don't go to therapy. We just suppress, right?
Yeah. So no, whatever.
Way better. not.
Exactly. So I'm just like, nah, I'm good. I'm good on that. I'll figure it out. But it felt like I was on a treadmill running nowhere
Yeah.
because I'm applying these things that I learned, but it's no longer working. So when you think about it, you know how if you're traveling, you just say you're doing a not cross country, but a world trip.
Yeah.
You can drive from California to North Carolina, but how can you get from North Carolina to a country in Africa?
Right.
You can't drive there.
That part.
You got to use a boat or you can fly. So
Yeah.
the skills that I was using at the time in life, it worked at one point, but now I'm in this new stage of my life. So what can I do? So I have to like
Right.
learn other skills, So super depressed. Finally got mental health treatment. Started like to really evaluate my mental health and work on my inner child and just figure out this stuff. And even then, it was just so taboo and uncomfortable. I'm like, well, it just sucked. It was just a bad childhood. It didn't affect me, but it really did.
Yeah.
It affected me. It affected the decisions I made, how I viewed the world, how I viewed myself. It affected all of that. So, going through therapy, it helps. But to me, therapy is good. I still have a therapist now, but it's
Yeah.
really
Me too.
it's like unpacking things in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But again, now if I want to go from somewhere in Africa to like a country in Asia, I can either fly or maybe a boat, maybe certain paths I can drive it, but it probably wouldn't be, sensible.
Right.
So then what I do, I go on Facebook looking for a mentor. I'm like, I need a coach or something else that is gonna like take me to the next level.
Yeah.
Because, I listen to Tony Robbins and they always talk about having a coach, a life coach, this kind of like
Mentors need mentors, coaches need coaches.
exactly. So I'm
Think
in
about how many
therapy.
mentors Tony Robbins has. He didn't get there by himself.
Exactly. He
Yeah.
didn't. You can't use the
None of us
same.
do.
You can't use what you was using before just because
Yep.
it was a tool that worked at the time, but you're not gonna take off a screw with a hammer. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. You can try, but you're gonna break the screw and
Yep.
probably whatever it is you're taking apart.
Yeah.
And around the time I reached out to you, I was fresh, newly in therapy, and I was thinking about getting out of the Navy, and I'm going through TAPS class, and they're like, oh, find someone who's doing what you want to do. Go reach out to the bankers and the people in schools. I'm like, I don't really plan on going back to college for the most part. I don't plan to go to the workforce. I don't know what I want to do, but I know I want to be an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
I'm day trading, but what their language isn't my language.
Right.
So I'm an entrepreneur. So I'm part of the Facebook group and I found you. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna ask her to be my mentor, but she's in health. So I'm just gonna work on maybe get super fit because, in pre-COVID, I was like, had my, I was leaner and again, different tools for a different time in my life.
Exactly. Yeah.
So now I meet you and I'm like, I know it'll work. If I get my fitness back up to par, I will be okay. But it was much more than that. It was like, it was deeper than that. Cause I was so depressed to the point where the one of the doctors prescribed me medication for depression. And at the time, it worked for that short time period. It was enough to like calm my mind and start to seek out therapists and do all that. But it like just muted everything in my life. And I've always been an ambitious person and ready to like hit the ground running.
Yeah.
I had nothing. It was just flat. Like
no
ambition. If I woke up late, oh well, I don't care if my job is upset. What you gonna do? It was just like that. I don't give a care mentality, which is not me. So I'm just like, okay, I got to figure something out. Like, I'm sure other people have been through similar situations or feelings, and I need to figure out what they did. And honestly, the golden thread is success leaves clues. So if I want to learn how to, ride a bike, if I never know how to ride a bike, I can just go to YouTube, or I can talk to people, or I can read a book. If I want to learn how to build a computer or something like that, same thing. Like, go read about it, watch a video. If I want to be an entrepreneur, if I want to be a successful entrepreneur or whatever, go find somebody who did the same thing and ask them how they did it.
Right.
It's no reason for me to be like, oh, I want to do these things, but I'm just going to sit on the idea because, oh, well. So Again, I started rambling, my bad,
That's
but
all right. You're good. You're good.
I'm like feeling flat, no ambitions, anything like that. And I'm just like, I started back out. I was praying a lot, like, show me what should I be doing? Like, how can I navigate through this? Cause I don't want it, I don't want this to be the rest of my life, you know?
Right.
So I'm like, I know for sure a person's current season is not forever. And it
Right.
took me back to Jim Rohn, Life is Like the Seasons. And at the time when he said, I didn't understand, the winters when it's cold or when you're heartbroken, I didn't really get that because I was in like a summer. I was in the spring. I was like getting it. So I started understanding. I'm like, man, okay, this is a winter. It's okay. I'll get through this,
Yeah.
And I'm praying about it. And I started to ask the questions like, what can I do differently? Because a lot of times when we get stuck, we don't ask those questions. We just say, oh, why is it like this? Why can't I have this? You have to be specific. What can I do differently to get out of this situation? Or what can I do differently to not feel depressed and not need the medication,
Right.
And I end up meeting you and you talking to me, and you didn't even know about the depression and stuff. I was just telling you I want to be healthy, that's it.
Yeah.
And you start to talking about reading labels, like eating whole foods and how it affects people's moods and all that. And I'm like, wow, hold on. Maybe this is connecting. Now, I was praying I wanted some help and being better. And then she's telling me that certain foods affect your mood. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna check this out. And you told me how to, not how, but you taught me about reading the labels on foods and eating whole foods and stuff, because I wasn't raised that way. And
Right.
some people will say, oh, I didn't know that, or I wasn't raised this way. But okay, that should be like just the surface of it. You can say, I can say, oh, I didn't know about it, I wasn't raised that way. But what can I do now?
Right.
How can I do better, instead of being, oh,
Exactly.
I wasn't raised that way, so I'm gonna just keep putting junk in my body because I don't care about what I need to do. Like, no. So you started teaching me about fueling my body. And, shortly after that, I was able to cut off the medication and felt alive, because not only, was I, recreating my purpose and moving with a purpose and being intentional with my days, but I was fueling my body. And it makes it, I'm like, so you telling me all this time I could have just been. And don't
But
get
you
me
know what?
wrong.
I'm gonna stop you for a second, real quick, just because I really, really, really hope that someone out there listen to what you just said, because I will preach it and preach it and preach it until I'm blue in the face, and people don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. So many people, they go the opposite direction. I don't want to put that effort in. I don't want to do that work, right? I hear it all the time. Okay, cool, right? But here's what you just said. You needed to learn how to fuel your body. Like I tell people all the time, like, look, I don't make this stuff up. Believe me, it was already there before I even learned it.
Mm-hmm.
I just happened to be in a situation, we were talking about you have to suffer before it gets important, right? I was in a
Yeah.
situation where my mom was dying, and I said, there's gotta be a better way. What am I missing? That was it.
You
So
asked
I'm
the
like,
question.
okay, yeah, exactly. But like you said, had I not been in that situation, I don't even know if I'd be here right now, like I
Mm-hmm.
am standing in front of you. I might be working for corporate right now. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I probably would have retired out of the military because I wouldn't have went reserves and stuff like that. That's a whole nother backstory. It's in the book if anybody wants it. but that's the thing, is like we have to suffer before it becomes important. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because I'm the type of person, I'm like, I don't want you to have to suffer. I
Mm-hmm.
already suffered for you. Like I already went through all that. I don't want you to have to suffer, but unfortunately people do, right? And you had to suffer before it became important. But I want to commend you because you didn't just keep suffering. A lot of people, they'll just keep suffering until they
They just
die.
keep suffering because it's more comfortable for people to be in, to suffer and with the familiar territory than to go in the unknown territory and do something that takes a little bit more effort.
Right.
You know,
Right.
that's
Oof.
that's people. And also, as far as like, people suffer first, but things become important when there's an emotional attachment to it.
Yes.
So if I wasn't as emotionally attached to the situation, then a lot of stuff I want to remember,
Right.
because think about all the information we get, and it goes one ear out the other ear.
Yep.
But when it happened, when you receive information at a high emotional state, then you stick with it. It retains, it hits differently. You remember it. Like I will always remember September 2015. I'll always remember my sobriety date. Like in high emotional events will always be with you.
Right.
So again, feeling my body, and even after you learn something, you start doing it, and you fall off a little bit, you slack off, or you might even be thinking like, I want it. Is it true? Does it really work this way? Let me just see if how I feel.
Let me go back to what I was doing before just to make sure.
Yes, and
But we
feel
all
like
do it.
crap.
Yeah.
It feel like crap, and sometimes it's really just let me just try it out and to see what happens. And the other times it's like by default, because if I've been living a certain way for what we met 2 years ago, so if I've been living a certain way for 28 years, that's default. That's a default setting. So if I'm not on guard and being intentional and proactively doing the things I know that works for me, my body will automatically go back to default settings, go back to the default thinking. And honestly, none of this would have even been possible if I didn't start to love myself. Because before 2019, before I got sober, I didn't love myself. I thought I did. I thought I had high confidence, and no, I had no self-worth, no confidence. I didn't love myself. I didn't treat myself like I love myself.
Right.
I worked out all the time, like, oh, I'm fit. Look at me.
Yeah.
No, it's a facade. It's fake.
Covering up the pain.
Yeah, but when
I
I
tell people
really,
that all the time. I tell people, I'm like, because people see what they see, right? So people see pictures of when I was competing, but what they didn't see was the pain that I was going through as far as emotional pain, right? Because I was not uncovering the things that I needed to uncover. So I was still, like you said, I putting on a facade. So everybody's like, oh, you're fit, you're doing all these things. Yeah, I was, but I was covering it up. I was covering up the emotional pain that I really needed to start uncovering, but I wasn't ready for that yet.
I was not ready for it. And I was emotionally bankrupt, spiritually bankrupt, mentally bankrupt. Like I was basically just a walking shell. I was just a body, barely even that. And as I got sober, my community, my network, they say, we're gonna love you until you learn to love yourself. And that's what they did. And I started to love myself. I'm like, I really do love myself. I can't settle for less. I can't settle for if I continue to do what I'm doing right now. And like Jim Rohn said, in 5 years, you'll be living in the house you don't want to live, driving a car you don't want to drive, working where you don't want to work. And I'm like, oh no. If I keep doing it, if I keep doing what I'm doing now, in 5 years, what will my life look like? Not having it. So ask the question. It's like, what can I do differently?
Right.
Who do I need now? It's like, who do I need to meet?
Right.
What can I do differently? Who do I need to meet? Who can I serve? Like those specific questions. Then you came into my life, told me about feeling my body, and I'm like, that's crazy. If I had known this years ago, but this part of my journey, I had to go through these things,
right,
to even know, to learn it, and then, and I will tell you about things and about personal development and my story. And just like, you have a strong story. I'm like, oh yeah, no one really wants to hear that. And I started thinking like, wait, why am I down on myself like that?
Yeah. Well, I used
Why
to
am
do
I
it
saying?
too.
Yeah, until someone talked to you and helped you to see like your story is your superpower. Like
that's it.
You can help so many people with your story because other people going through the same crap, thinking the same thing. So I'm like, and everyone's around me telling me like, you can really help people because I'm learning personal development, self-development. I'm teaching the people around me. So their lives are changing. And they're like, oh, you have a gift. I'm like, oh yeah, whatever,
Yeah.
I'm in the Navy, I'm doing pretty good. But now I'm just like, at the time, I'm like, okay, I can do much better. I can do a lot, if I'm out of the Navy and I'm tired of this abusive relationship. It's a joke. You know how like if you're in an abusive relationship, you get a few black eyes. Well, yeah, I don't know about it, but from people talking about it, you get a few black eyes.
I grew up with it, so I know. Yeah.
And then a week or two pass and you're not hit and it's fine.
Right.
And then week 3 you hit again.
Right.
And that's how I felt with my last command and before I got out of the Navy. And it was fine, but one, I started to love myself. I started to see that some of this stuff is not okay. No one about to treat me like this, and I can do much better outside, as a civilian, because again, it got me from point A to point B, and it was okay. But now I'm trying to go to the next level. I'm trying to go to point C, and if I stay where I am, I won't even get to point C. I might just be stuck at B forever.
Right.
So I made the tough decision to, like, maybe I should just go ahead and get out. And it was difficult. No, it was easy, but difficult at the same time,
Right.
because that's what I had known. That's what I had, like, been doing for like almost 8 years. So that was like a part of me.
Right.
But I'm like so excited to be like, when I'm out, I'm gonna be so excited. I'm gonna be happy. I'm gonna be doing this, And then you're out, and it's just like, oh, who am I? What do I do now?
Yeah.
Like, who am I without the Navy? They helped me through life and gave me stability. Before I joined, I had nothing. I had a car, but I had nothing. After I got out, 2 houses later, I got a family. Stability. It taught me so much discipline and structure. And when I joined, I was like, I might join the Navy. I need some structure. I need some discipline. I needed so much more.
Right.
And now I'm able to stand on, my own 2 feet and walk to sea. And it's just like, I just lost my train of thought. I was just thinking about.
No, I mean, everything that you're saying is exactly what everybody out there needs to hear. Like, and people, sometimes people will see it and they're like, well, how are you able to do what you're doing? Right. Like, people probably ask you like, well, what do you mean you got out of the Navy? Why'd you get out of the Navy? Right. Well, that's what you needed to do for you. Right. Like
Mhm,
your journey is different from everybody else's. That's what people don't understand, my journey, but it's like, well, these are things that I have to do for me. And it's not just for me, but it's for the greater good. Right. So
mhm,
now if I'm able to fulfill my purpose, now I'm fulfilled.
mhm.
And that's what a lot of people are lacking. And that's what,
Fulfillment.
you were lacking when you were still in the Navy. So let's talk about, okay, so you decided that you want to go into business for yourself, right? So
Mhm.
what are some of the things that you're doing now?
Right now I'm starting back to day trade, and I'm launching my own personal coach, my transformation coaching program. Um, Doing that, and I just launched a podcast called Room for It.
Yes.
It's really just about Room for It podcast is just, again, like breaking barriers, people who've been through the trenches, been like life smacked them in the face, knocked them on their
Yeah.
butt, but they still got up and
Right.
continued the course. And just they just share about like what happened, what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now, because a lot of folks, we all have stuff in life. We all go through it in
Yeah.
life.
Yep.
But are you gonna stay there? Are you gonna walk through the
Exactly.
fire and stay in hell? Or are you gonna just keep going through and then be able to tell your story? Or even just get through. You ain't gotta tell your story, but you can get through.
Right.
You don't have to sit in hell and be like, oh, it's so hot here.
Right.
Okay, it's hot. Keep moving.
Right.
Get through, get to the other side of it,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I really enjoy helping people. I love talking to people, helping them see that there's so much more in life.
Yeah.
A lot of people, even including myself, like living in survival mode. We should be
Yep.
it's hard to create when you're surviving, if you're
Yes.
mentally just surviving. And when I say surviving, I don't mean can't pay your bills. I'm talking about mentally, spiritually, emotionally just
Yeah.
surviving. You can't create,
Right.
and I wanted more time to do things that I think my gift is, like helping people,
Yeah.
pushing them, navigating them through like hard times and getting to the other side and
Yeah.
like just enjoying life,
Yeah.
because life is beautiful. Like, we were put here for a reason. All of us put here for a reason.
Definitely.
And
Yeah.
I don't want to spend my time in a cubicle for 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day.
That. Yeah.
It just,
Same.
and everyone's not meant to be an entrepreneur. I'm not saying that, but even
Right.
if you're in a job, you don't like it. Okay. How can you do better?
Yeah.
How can you be a better you? And it'll reflect in your job.
Yeah.
You won't hate going to work, because you're going to work for you, not for your job.
Right.
You're not going to work to get rewarded and accolades. You're going to work because you want to go there and put in the work. So when you're done, you feel like, I put it all out there today,
Yeah.
and just being intentional.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because before I met you, I thought, like, sometimes I was like, I was intentional, but not knowing I was intentional some days.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started working together, and he was like, you have to be intentional with your day, be intentional, If you don't take control of your day, the day will take control of you, and people will have you doing what they want you to do, not what you want to do. And I'm
Exactly.
like, man, that's true. And the thing, you're like, make you important. I'm like, I am important. I shouldn't make myself important, you know, like it's just so much that people we know, but we just don't do it.
Yeah.
Or we know of, but we're not intentional with our thinking, intentional with
Right.
putting it into action, you know.
Yeah. That's how I say. I don't think people hire me for the information. I think they hire me for the accountability. But
Hmm.
that's the thing. Like I had to hire people for the accountability, right? And like you
Hmm.
said, like and sometimes it's just taking that leap of faith. Like I remember our first conversation, and I don't know what your thoughts and feelings were behind. Now you had to make an investment that and you still weren't sure, right,
Hmm.
what you were gonna get. Like I told you kind of some of the things, but it always looks different with everybody, and I just want to pour into people. So you allowed me to do that, and you invested your time and your money, your hard-earned
Yeah.
money into an unknown, really, because you didn't know me. You didn't know me from Eve, right?
Yeah.
You just knew, okay, she's in health, she's got her own business, and okay, I'm looking for a mentor. And she's a veteran. She's a woman veteran, right? Those are the only things you knew. But you took a risk and you took a leap of faith. And I just want to commend you for that because when we first kind of started getting to know each other, like I could see you because I walked that journey, but I walked it 15 years after you did. So thank God you got it before.
Yeah.
So I was just like, okay, this woman's got so much in her that she doesn't even know. But had I not walked through my journey, I wouldn't have been able to see that in you. Right. So I'm grateful that, and I always say this, I was saying this the other day with another friend of mine where I was like, his time is always perfect. And I didn't know this either.
Hmm.
Right. Cause I had to walk through, get to that place too. But his timing's always perfect. Had I met you in 2019, neither one of us would have been good for each other. I will tell you that right now. But we met as I had went through EMDR, as I had went and uncovered my past and dealt with the hard things and so when we met, I was able to be a better person for you.
Hmm.
And so I thank God for that because I wasn't able to be that for anybody before that.
Hmm.
But you and I linked up and we linked up at the perfect time. So now I've been able to watch your journey and you've kind of just, and it's funny because I'll have people reach out to me and they'll say, Jody, you're like this butterfly now, right? Like you've kind of come out of your cocoon and it's
Hmm.
people that have seen my whole journey or like people that knew me in 2019, right? I was a
Hmm.
totally different person. You were a totally different person when we first met. You had done a lot of the hard work already, but you still needed, like you say, you needed that kind of that launch, right?
I needed a boat. I needed
Yeah,
a boat.
you needed the boat. So you got the boat and then I know how they feel now where I've been able to watch you bloom. I've been able to watch you learn how to fly and come out of your cocoon and to me, and this is why I tell people like if you allow me to pour into you, that what I see right now coming out of you, and I know it's only going to get better from here, that in itself is why I do what I do. It's why I love it. It's why I take risks. It's why I will suffer more if I need to,
Hmm.
because I get a Brittany in my life who I get to help and I get to watch thrive. And to me, that's worth it. That's worth all of it. You could take
Yeah.
everything away from me. I will live out of my car. My family might not like that, but you know what I'm saying? But if I get to watch people thrive in their greatness,
Hmm.
that makes me want to work harder. So people will be like, why are you so motivated? Because I have a Brittany in my life, right? I have people that are watching me. You have people that are watching you now, right? So that's going to make you want to work harder. You have kids. I got a kid,
Hmm.
right? Like that in itself should, I'm gonna throw that out there, should make us want to work harder.
Hmm.
But unfortunately, not everybody is there yet. And that's okay. And that's why I tell people, I'm like, hey, I had my own journey. I was as stubborn as they get.
Hmm.
Anybody that knows me knows that I was stubborn. I got this, right? No, I didn't. But that's the thing. So when people are like that, I'm just like, all right, cool. I'm gonna let you go on your journey. And that's what you're gonna have to do too. You're gonna come in contact with that a whole lot. And it's
Hmm.
frustrating at first because we know what it's like to get to that dark place and not know what to do afterward. And we don't want that for anybody else. But
Hmm.
unfortunately, some people are gonna have to get there before they're ready to launch into their greatness. So
And
Just be ready for that, because it's going to come
Yeah, I
a lot.
will.
Yeah,
And like that dark place, you know how like if you don't deal with things that go on in life, it comes out some kind of way.
it
So
does.
you can only mask it and cover it up for so long, you know. So years of like compartmentalizing, covering up, sticking it away, putting it in the closet, shutting the door, and the closet gonna bust open. It's gonna come out some kind of way.
That's what I tell people. I was great at that. I was really good at it, and so I wasn't.
I had no idea. And one thing that shifted my life as well, though, is the way I talk to myself. You
Yeah,
know, and asking the right, like again, asking the right questions. But I had to change the monologue
yeah,
and tell myself, like, I love you, Brittany. You're beautiful. I love your smile. You
yeah,
are perfect the way you are. Like these affirmations, you know, initially sound it feels unfamiliar and it feels corny, uncomfortable because, well, for me at least, because I wasn't the type of person.
right,
I wouldn't even tell people that. So telling to myself, you know,
right,
I would tell it to my daughter, you
right,
know, oh, you're so cute, I love you so much, you know, but
right.
saying it to myself, and our brain doesn't know the difference between the truth and like what's real and what's fake.
Right.
So I had to rewire the way I was thinking. How did I view myself? What did I think of myself?
Yeah.
You know, do I love I say I love myself, but what am I doing? How I say I love myself, I need to fuel my body as if this is a what is it? I can say a castle, but this is paradise or whatever. So I need to
Yeah.
take care of it, you know,
Yeah.
fuel my body the right way, get enough sleep, drink enough water. Do I have a hobby? Find something that you know gives me some kind of life, like some joy in life.
Yeah.
We're not supposed our bodies and our minds are so complicated, and we just like we count it out, you know, we
Yeah.
just count it out, and we want to get out of reality by like maybe doing whatever else to get out of reality, but change your reality, change your life, you know. I
Yeah.
had to be okay with my reality,
Yeah.
and if you don't like the reality, change it.
Yeah.
Like, I tell my mom I think in 2018 and 2019, she was complaining about something like, Mom, you're not a tree, you can always move. 2019, she was talking about it, what was going on. I'm like, Mom, you're not a tree. You
Right.
can always move. And you know what she did? 2019, she moved up here with me in Syracuse from Memphis, you know,
Right.
and her life changed. But again, we have to be just with ourselves and kind with ourselves and treat I have to treat me like I love me.
Yeah.
So the same love and kindness and grace I give to like my daughter, my wife, my mom, I should do the same thing for myself, you know, and really be open to new things and new ideas. There is no way possible I would have been able to accept the help from you or information from Jim Rohn if I was going to have a closed mind.
Yeah.
You know, like question like who said I'm supposed to, you know, do X, Y, and Z?
Right.
Who said a girl can't, you know, I'm sure when they started playing basketball, who said girls can play basketball? Why not?
Right.
Just because you give information as a kid doesn't make it true.
Right.
And who gave your parent or your grandparent information? Who gave them the information? So it's just information being passed on.
Yeah.
And not saying it's not true or true, but is it beneficial to you? Is it helping you? If it's not helping you, rethink that. Like, what should I do differently? How can I do this differently? You know, who can help me to do this differently? You know, just asking those questions. And I say this all the time, the reticular activating system.
Mm.
So I got a blue truck. So when I was around like right before I met you, or after it was before we met. And again, I'm like somewhat depressed and just feel uncomfortable. And I'm thinking like, first I bought a house. So we bought another house, a nice house, like in a wooded area that I always wanted as a kid. And I still feel kind of okay. And then I'm like, I think I need a truck because if I'm gonna have a rental property now, then I should move stuff around. I'm thinking about a truck, whatever. And it was like a series of events that was just so inconvenient. I'm like, I need to get a truck. So I go to the dealership. I see this blue truck, nice and blue. I'm saying it's perfect. Never seen one like it before. So I get the truck. And the next week, I see this blue truck everywhere. And it's only because,
Is that part of your brain? And that's what I was gonna say, like, because what she's talking about it for everybody that's out there. If you don't know what the reticular activating system is, I think I mentioned it in my book, but Ed Milet talks about it a lot too, and a lot of these, you know, some of the people that we listen to talk about it. It's a part of your brain, and what it does is, and I did this when I was working on my finances too, and I've had people that have told me this, you know, when they're focusing on their nutrition or their health, then they always come in contact with people who are, you know, in nutrition or health or whatever, right? When you're focusing on your finances, what do you come in contact with when you're when you saw, just like you were about to say, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but the blue truck. Now what happened? You saw that
I
blue truck
started
all over the
seeing this
place.
blue truck. It wasn't everywhere, but at first I had never seen it like that color blue nowhere on a truck with the black trim. And now, like the next week, I saw one like was like going something like this truck was just like my truck. Like I could have sworn it was on like 3 of these trucks in the city,
right?
And now I see them around, you know, and it's just
Yep.
it's funny because I already knew about the reticular activating system. And so if we know that this is how things work, if we know this is how our brains work, make it beneficial. So if I want to focus on, you know, just being I'm gonna be specific. I'm not gonna say just being healthy. If I want to focus on you know, drinking enough water, or nah, that won't work. I gotta find a better example. Oh, I was talking about being a life coach or start a podcast. And then I started to see information online about different podcasting or starting a podcast. And I'm sure the ads, sometimes I ain't gonna lie, Facebook probably do listen to your conversations and put ads there. But for the most part, I'm sure these
that's a
ads,
thing.
the ads and the information was already there. But I wasn't seeing it because it wasn't important to me.
Right.
But when you make something important to you, your brain filters out everything that's not related to that. And you start to see it everywhere, like you focus on it.
Yeah.
So just make it beneficial for you. Well, for me, I had to make it beneficial.
Right.
And then another thing that helped me a lot in this journey was Ed Mylett talks about it in his book, The Power of One More.
Yep.
And I also read the book by David Goggins, his first book. And it's just about like, if I know I'm gonna, let's see, if I'm at the gym and I'm doing, you know, 10 minutes on the treadmill, just walking, just do one more minute.
One more.
Because it gives you that for one, you have the discipline and then that confidence because you're doing it. You just did one more, and then you compound it just whatever it is you're looking for in life. If I say I want to lose, you know, a few pounds, whatever, and I start to do one more minute on the treadmill, it's gonna reflect physically, you know. It's just a whole bunch of information that people talk about and experiences that we talk about and have, and it's all somewhat similar, you know. There's tweaks and differences, but it's all similar.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we all can change our lives because the information is out there. The information is out there.
That's how, when you talk about that, like, I've read The Power of One More too. That's an amazing book. So anybody out there that's listening, go get Ed Mylett's Power of One More. That's an amazing book. I'm trying to start a book club up right now. So hopefully that can be one of the books that we put in there, but it's simple. It really is simple. And it's funny because the more I started thinking like that, because I'll even catch myself at the gym. Like even this morning, I was on the stair climber and I was like, oh, I've already done 20 minutes. Oh, I got to do one more. Right. Because it's like, I don't want to be average. Right. Like I don't want to be average anymore. I've done enough of that. I was average most of my whole life. Right. So I don't want to be average anymore. So that's why when people are like, well, you're doing all these things. No, I'm not. I usually will let something go that's not meant for me so I can step into what is, right? But that's the part people don't see. But it's always, I'm going after that one more, right? Like if I got this down, right? And of course it's always about learning, but if I got this part down pat to where I can help people in that area, okay, now, well, what is that one more thing that I don't have yet? Right. And so that's what I'm always looking for now. And that's why some of us were meant to step into our greatness a little bit differently. And it doesn't make sense to everybody else. And that's okay. But that's the problem. Like, I think some of us, and I'll say me, definitely, I used to listen to a lot of people and they would just be like, well, you're doing too much. You're doing too much. You need to let go. You're doing too much. And to a certain extent, there were some things that I did have to kind of let go of, but it's never too much when it's allowing us to step into our greatness to where now it's not even about us anymore. It's about how many people we can really help. But we have to love ourselves first. We have to take care of ourselves first because, and this is something that I have these conversations all the time where it's like, I can't show up for anybody else until I'm showing up for me. I couldn't show up. I had a business, great, and I was faking it. But I couldn't be the person, I couldn't be the mentor that I am now until I started putting me first. And people were like, oh, that's selfish. No, it's not. It's selfless.
Mm-hmm.
is selfless. Because what
You
happens
can't
is,
pour from an empty cup.
and that's it. Yeah, that. And then even, I mean, there's a verse in the Bible where it's like, you know, what is it? Love thy neighbor like you love yourself. Okay, well, if you don't love yourself, what does that look like? Ooh, right?
We see it all the time.
Ouch. Ouch, right?
We
So
see it all the time.
exactly. And like you said, like, when you're living in survival mode, that's you're putting a wall up and you're not letting anybody in, right? Because you're in
Mm-hmm.
survival mode, like you're protecting yourself so much that you're protecting yourself against the wrong people. Now you got people that want to help you, but they can't even help you because you're so busy protecting yourself. Well, hey, how about let's lock arms and, work this out. So
Now
I
you're
love
blocking
the
off
fact,
love.
exactly, like we blocked off so much, right? So I just want to say, because we're gonna have to wrap this up, but I just want to say,
Mm-hmm.
I want to commend you because you, like I'm one person, but when I always love it, I'm like, can I duplicate myself? Can I duplicate myself? Right? Like, so thank you for duplicating, right? It's like, because now you're going to get to reach people. And now this is how it starts. This is how it trickles into, like you are going to have somebody that you help, and then they're going to want to help somebody else. Right. So now we got 3, and then we got 4, and then we got 5, and then we got 5,000.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's how it starts. So I just want to commend you for taking the chance and taking that step and understanding there is more, and you wanted to learn how to step into that, and most of us do sleepwalk through life, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it has to get to a point where it's like, man, I'm tired of sleepwalking. I've been sleepwalking my whole life. I don't want to do
Mm-hmm.
this anymore. And then that's when we have to find, like you said, seek out the people that can actually help us get there. So definitely commend you for doing that. Let everybody know, like, what's the best place for them to find you. I know you were talking about the podcast, so go ahead and talk, tell them the name of the podcast again, and just tell them the best place to reach out to you and find you.
You can find me on Facebook, it's Brittany Taylor, plain and simple. On Instagram and on TikTok, it's Mr. Cheetohead. So
That was the
MrCheetohead.
funniest thing when I first.
Yep, Mr. Cheetohead.
There's a whole story behind that, y'all.
Yep, Instagram and TikTok. And then my podcast is Room for It Podcast. So ROOMFORITPODCAST. Room for It Podcast is
Awesome.
Instagram for that.
Awesome.
And you can find the links in all my social media platforms.
Awesome. Well, hey, I just want to, like I said, I want to acknowledge you for coming on here today, for taking the time out. I know we didn't get to go into all of the story.
No,
When
that's
you come
fine.
back on here, we'll talk about some more stuff. But but I want to say something real quick, because a lot of people out there, they don't know. You've actually just recently went through something very difficult in your life. So I just want to say a prayer for you and your family for that situation. And I'm sure it'll come out later. You'll talk about it, but just for right now, I just wanted to say that real quick, because here's the thing, you guys, consistency means you keep going even when times get hard. And none of us are living a lavish lifestyle right now, right? Like there's always, I don't care what it looks like on the outside. You might have this fancy car and house and whatever else, but we're always going through something behind the scenes. I don't care who you are. And so just know that there are people out there who care about you and who want to pour into you and who love you no matter what. And don't ever feel embarrassed for any of it, because most of us are going through things that we can relate to, right? Either we've already been there, we've already been through it, or we're going through it now. So just, if you're out there and you've been listening to this, first off, thank you for listening. For everybody that's out there, thank you for continuing to share these podcasts. Thank you for continuing to support and just be there. And if you know somebody that's going through something that can relate to this show specifically, please share this out to them. Make sure you go to the YouTube channel, Jody Watkins Inspires, click subscribe, and let's just get these stories out, because and you're doing it too. So go to the Room for It podcast and make sure you do the same for her, because the more we're able to share these stories out, we're saving lives, you guys. We are saving lives. And I truly feel like God put me on a mission to save lives because of what I've gone through and how close I came to not being here. And that's a story that just came out recently. A lot of people don't know that part, right? They don't know your story, how, the things that you dealt with. And so at the end of the day, we are placed on a mission through the things that we have gone through to be able to share these things and say, hey, you're not alone. Let's lock arms. let's do this life together and let's get you operating into your greatness. So thank God for you and everything, and you know, the people that are around you that are supporting you and getting you through everything too, because that's the thing too. You know, I tell people all the time, like, my circle isn't the same circle I used to have. It's the circle I need to have. Right. The people that are closest to me, they support me when I'm down. And we all need that. I don't care who you are. So we can say, oh, I got it. Right. I got it. I'm good. I don't need nobody. I used to be like that. But I will tell you, I do. I do. And you do. And everybody out there does. And so we can think that we can do life by ourselves. But in all reality, we need some people beside us that can lift us up when we're down. Because we're all going to be down at some
You
point.
gotta find your tribe.
You do. You do. That's it right there. That's a good final word right there. Find your
Yes.
tribe. And you're going to have to, here's one thing I'll say on that. In finding your tribe, you're going to hit some roadblocks. Not everybody's meant to be in your tribe, but you got to filter through that to get the tribe that you're meant to be around. And I had to filter through some people too. I had people that took advantage of me and you know, took my money but that's the thing, is like, had I not gone through that, I would have never found the true people who were meant to be right there with me. So I just want to encourage anybody out there real quick, just in your finding your tribe, you're going to get hurt along the way too. And that's okay, because it's going to make you stronger. And if you keep going, like you said earlier, if you keep going, that's when you're able to truly live the way you're meant to live. So thank you for everybody that's out there. Again, this is Breaking Barriers Now. Thank you, Brittany, for your time today. We're going to keep this going as long as possible. I want to definitely say thank you to Tavares Hogan. He has been the person who has made this keep going. And I told him, I said, look, I know I can't pay you yet, but it's going to come tenfold when I get the chance to. So he saw what I was trying to do. And so I just wanted to, yeah, sometimes I don't put him out there and he doesn't like to be in the forefront, but I just want to put his name out there real quick, because he's been the blessing in disguise that I didn't have when I was trying to do this podcast. So he's been making it happen on the back end. So I just wanted to say thank you to him. Thank you to Convene Communities for allowing me to be part of that mission, that movement. And thank you to Denise Armstrong and her husband at First Approved Financial, because that has literally launched everything that I was doing into a whole new way. So thank you to everybody out there again. And at the end of the day, keep going. All right. God bless you.